Friday, everybody. I am back and better than ever. I have another guest with me today. I welcome Joseph Zuniga. He is CEO and founder of Never Fade Away. Welcome.
Thank you.
You said that so modestly.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, thank you for coming. It is a cold day. It is a rainy day. And some people sometimes cancel depending on the weather. So I wasn't sure if he was going to make it. But he is here, and we are going to get into some really cool stuff today. Now, I like to start off my Fridays with a fun fact, as we were discussing pre-show. So I'm going to let you do the honors of that. Kind of tell me a fun fact about yourself.
Fun fact about me is, my parents named me Joshua Isaiah Zuniga. And so my mom wanted to name me Isaiah Joshua Zuniga, but my dad really liked the movie Lethal Weapon.
Okay.
And so he was like, no, I want his name to be Joshua Isaiah Zuniga. So when he gets, older, then people can call him Mr. Joshua, because in Lethal Weapon, that's what it was. And,
right.
The boss or what have you not. So, yeah.
So kind of explain. I've heard of the movie Lethal Weapon. Is that the one with Danny Glover?
Yes.
Okay. So who was Joshua, that Joshua character? I feel like he was kind of badass.
Yeah, he was a villain.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a villain, but it was the way that people respected him
and
moved when he said to move. I guess my dad just liked it. I don't know. So
and you're moving stuff now.
Yeah, very, very much so. And I guess it was just meant to be. And so, with our company, we're gonna be, changing things and changing life and putting a new perspective on the way people view things. So yeah,
that's really dope. And I actually met Joshua. I'm sorry, is it Joshua?
Yes.
Okay. This is the thing. So I met Joshua last semester. We had a class together. And for some reason, the entire class, I thought his name was Joseph. I just felt like he looked more like a Joseph to me. I don't know why. So when he explained his name right now, it took me a minute to really put that together. 'Cause this whole time, I've been thinking it was Joseph. Don't get mad at me, anybody. Yeah. No, and it's not even like that. But however, also when he speaks, I can hear a little bit of an accent.
Yes.
And so when I figured out his last name was Zuniga, obviously through conversation, how I knew his last name and not fully his first, I don't know. However, I was like, okay, his name is Joshua Zuniga. Zuniga is more of a Latin Spanish name. Yeah. He has a slight accent, so kind of elaborate on that.
Okay, well, it's Zuniga with the accent on the Enya, so it's Zuniga. And my dad's from Guatemala, so that's where the Latin part comes from. So I'm first generation American.
Okay.
From the Latin side, and my mom's African American. So the accent comes from my dad's side of the family. And then also, I guess another fun fact is, for high school, I went to an all Hispanic high school, and because I used to play soccer very seriously, and it runs in the family. So I was I felt, I don't want to say, like half of my family is, Latin American, and so, they speak Spanish and so forth and so on, and that's where you get the accent from, and, being surrounded all the time, and yeah, so it's just
okay. So I was kind of right about that. I had a feeling that it was due to the Latin ancestry, if you so will. So you played soccer. How long did you play soccer for?
For years. Actually, I started when I was a kid playing street soccer, and then I started really putting forth the effort during my freshman year of high school. And so started training 3 teams. I had my club team, park team, and my high school team.
Okay.
So I would go to practice. I wouldn't get home until like 10 o'clock at nighttime, 10, 11, but I would bus it. So what do they call those students who bus? But they're bus.
Yeah,
school,
bus
right?
students, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I would travel an hour to get to my school, and then train, and won't come back home and bus it all the way back to South Central LA.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so that was my life every day.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
So you must have really loved in soccer to be that dedicated to it.
Yeah. The reason why I'm not playing now is because my senior year of high school, I ended up breaking both of my wrists. So the first 6 months I broke my right hand, and then the second 6 months I broke my left hand. And it was all during playing. And people say, well, don't you play soccer? You're going to use your feet. But the first time was I jumped up to headed the ball, and someone clipped me on my feet, and I fell on my arm, and then it was broke. my dad was like, get up, continue playing. And then I went, and then,
Dads.
yeah, he was like, oh, it's just a little whatever. But then when we got to the hospital and we unwrapped, all the bandages and what have you not, the bone was like all out and stuff like that. So it was nasty. And then the second one was the second 6 months. And at this moment, I started taping my wrist to make sure it doesn't happen again. And it broke, but it was like minorly broken, but it was broke. And so both, 6 months after another. So I couldn't send my high school tapes because I didn't have any for my senior year of high school. So I kind of had to go through the whole tryout process and what have you not. So it kind of pushed me back. And then that's when I realized, that being an athlete, that can end at any time.
That's a bummer. It's always hard to hear when people are so invested and so good and have such potential in the sport, and then a bad injury happens.
Yeah,
I guess
definitely.
you're right, Now, with that being said, you said your father was from Guatemala. Have you been back and visited Guatemala with him?
I haven't. I seen tapes. He wants to take us back under the right circumstances. Because over there it is it's a third world, and it's not the riches and what have you not, but just finding the right time, the right moment. But we will be planning to go there pretty soon. So
That's so amazing. And it's cool. I told him before the show started, I didn't want to know the reason, because I was going to ask him, and I have been meaning to ask him, but kind of how do you ask someone just randomly, okay, why is your last name Zuniga, But it always was something I was interested to know, and I was like, okay, I'm going to ask him on the show as a fun fact question. Now, thanks for sharing that with all of us. Now, you are the CEO and founder of Never Fade Away. So kind of explain, what is that?
Well, Never Fade Away is about teaching people subconsciously about history through clothing, right? And when I first came up with the concept and the idea, I wanted to really give people, something to live for. You see a lot of the other brands who they come out and then they just disappear. And I believe that to be so, because they're not appealing to the people. They're not doing anything for the people. And at the same time, they're not putting in the effort to actually give the people something that with quality that they can actually, live on for. You look at, some of which will be our soon competitors like Nike and Adidas and so forth and so on. They have their concept, but it's different from ours. Never Fade Away is anybody. Everybody and anybody is never fade away. You work so hard to do what you're doing. People in school are working hard. Athletes are working hard. Business people are working hard. And we want to make sure that everyone understands that, to work so hard that you never fade away. And that's the essential concept of what Never Fade Away is. And, we're going to be working on branches of other things, because Never Fade Away isn't just going to be a clothing brand, but other things as well. And, we want to show the people that, yes, we're here for them. And we will be here for them, and it's about the people.
With that being said, like you said, obviously, when you are in the apparel business, it's very competitive.
Yes.
It's a lot of different brands. Now, in terms of you saying anyone can be, it's very inclusive, so to speak. With that, how do you, in essence, differentiate yourself beyond just being inclusive, being diverse? Because that's becoming, I'm noticing the trend. They're realizing that there's money in diversity with other brands. What is the essential factor of your brand that's so special?
Well, when I created the brand 5 years ago, my senior year of high school, I knew that it had to be something that not only older people can vibe to, but also the younger generation, because the younger generation is into apparel. And I wanted something where we can bridge the gap of conversation. So when it comes down to, our brand, one of our first 4 shirts is the Zulu Warrior, Zulu Wife, the Aztec Warrior, and the Aztec Wife. And with those images, we I ended up getting our artist, which had drawn the images out fresh. We didn't go to Google, what have you. Now we did our research to see, what the Zulu people wore, what were they about before we had drawn the before I had the artist draw, the fresh art piece, and I had him do research as well. And so when you buy our shirts and when you see our shirts, just know those are fresh images. That's one. The second thing is we're going to be creating documentaries on the historical figures that people can go see on our YouTube channel on Never Fade Away. and they're going to be able to learn about those historical figures as well. Now, when we talk about bridging the gap between our older generation and our younger generation, the way I view it and the way I see it and imagine it is that, you have two people at a crosswalk. You have someone of the younger generation and someone of the older generation at a crosswalk. And they're both, one of them is wearing the Zulu warrior shirt and the other one is wearing the Aztec warrior shirt. And the older person asks, oh, well, we're wearing the same brand. Why are you wearing what you're wearing? The younger person say, oh, yeah, because it just looks cool, right? And then the older person looks at the younger person and be like, well, I'm wearing this shirt because of all these historical reasons that person will give. And then the younger generation, the younger person will then start to learn, what these people are about and start to understand, different cultures. Because at the same time, I believe that the reason why people hate one another and they go as far as, really going even, to that point to make fun of someone is because they don't understand one another. So if we can get people to start understanding one another and start embracing one another, we can start to destroy some of that negative connotations that people have for one another. And yeah.
Now, that's all dope because I feel like it's giving a lot of history, and that's a lot of the things we're missing, especially with African history, African American history, and so on and so forth. Now, what made you so interested in investing in that culture to the point you want to give it out to the world and make it a brand?
Just the fact of, like you said, there's so many unknowledgeable things about certain cultures that people of our generation isn't looking towards to understand who they are as an individual and understand another person. And so in trying to create a brand that gives peace, and once again creating a brand that's actually doing something for the people, right, and not just selling something for $60 or $70 to kids or whatever, and they don't know, and it's not doing something for them. We wanted to be able to create something that people can learn from, and using those methods to try to make a change. And yeah, I hope I answered your question right.
You did. You know what? Don't ever feel like I like my guests to go as long as they can, because I feel like there's so much knowledge and I see so much passion in a lot of the people I invite on the show, which I love. And I always want them to exude that to our audience. Now, when it comes to the Zulu and Aztec, I kind of have a personal reason of why you picked those two tribes. If you're familiar with history, Africa is filled with hundreds of tribes, maybe thousands. I'm not sure about that, but many, and things like that. So why did you decide I want to focus on the Zulu tribe and Aztec tribe?
The reason why is because they're the most prominent, and they're the most, when people hear Zulu or when people think Aztec, they automatically, who aren't from the culture, know or have heard of something about them.
And just quick comment, Aztec is not African, by the way. I don't know if I Aztec had any confusion.
Mexican.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I chose those two is, yes, we have a lot of African American, Latino people around the world, but especially in California. And our main focus for Never Fade Away is to be able to target California first and get Never Fade Away all over California. And if we can do that and get the people to understand that we're about the people, that's going to be infectious all over the world. And because California is one of the apparel places where people look to, also in New York as well. If we can get California, then New York could catch on and everybody else could catch on at the same time. So but yeah, those were my reasons for choosing them. And we'll Never Fade Away, we're going to always have history. I wanted, like I said, I wanted a brand that would never fade away, that would never die. And with that is creating a concept that would never fade away, never die. So if you don't like the Aztec warrior or the Zulu warrior, Zulu wives, Aztec wife, we're going to create other things where you are going to feel passionate about and be able to get, into, because one of our goals is to be able to, our target audience is everyone. We're not going to leave anybody out. I want everyone to be able to wear Never Fade Away.
Right.
Because essentially it's for everyone. And if we can, put those historical figures out, and even we do all the historical figures in our past, which, history never runs out, because 10 years from now, this is going to be history, whatever's happening now. So it's going to always be, a continuous thing. So, so yes.
Now, how do you keep the individuality of Never Fade Away while you're still incorporating so many cultures and everyone, because sometimes when you mesh things together, the essential meaning can get sort of lost in the message, you know?
Yeah.
So how do you make sure that Never Fade Away still has the same, I want to say, kind of purpose alongside making sure everyone feels represented?
Yeah. Well, one is it starts with the rock in which it was, founded upon. And one thing when it came down to the company, I wanted to make sure that, we didn't have investors and people to put their input and share in stock. Like everything that I have been doing, I have been putting forth my own money. Because I want to make sure that my team and we stick to those fundamentals, and nobody else can penetrate what we're doing. You look at, a popular CEO and Steve Jobs, he was kicked out of Apple and then brought back in just like, because of all the stock. So that's the first thing, creating, making sure that rock is solid and being patient. The second thing is making sure our morals as a company stays solid. So me telling you, Angelica, this is what about, and you being a part of the team, when you start to see that things aren't, you start to question, like, is things really going the way how it used to, then you can come to me and be like, what's up with this? How is this? And then that'll be a constant reminder. And that goes for everyone, And so, and creating the brand, also it being for the people. And when the people know they're being tampered with, the people will speak up. And the thing is, and so, I'm not worried at all about us losing our path, because our path is righteous. And so we're gonna, we're gonna stay solid and firm in that road, and use everything that we can to provide that for the people. So, yeah.
And would you be open to investors if someone said, Joshua, I really like you, I like your team, I like what you represent, I want to invest, but for this investment, maybe I want to make a minor adjustment, or I want to put you in some contractual thing. Would you be open to that?
No.
Okay.
Because that was one thing that I said that I wouldn't do in the beginning, no matter how big we get, no matter how much money. Because at the end of the day, and this is what I tell people, if this was it's up to me, but if this was really up to me, I wouldn't want to do this. The reason why I wouldn't want to do this is because there's a lot of work that is into this, and everybody wants to live just a comfortable life. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. But because I know this company isn't about me, and I have the fortitude and the mindset to do so, I will do so. And I'm willing to sacrifice myself for the people to make sure that our kids, our future generation, our older generation, feels, solidified in the history, and also teaching one another and creating a better generation. So I'm okay with that. And so, yeah.
No, that's great. And it's also good to hear, because sometimes people get so caught up, all right, now I want to be able to support my team. It's been years of struggle, years of just labor, not really receiving a profit to the degree that it has the potential to. Yeah. So that can be very persuasive, dependent, you know?
And one thing that I have learned is, if you look at the Black Panther movie, right?
I'm glad you brought it up.
If you look at the
Black Panther, amazing.
Yeah, it has made so much money in such a little time, because the people felt like it was for them. The people felt like, it was something that they can embrace, and that it wasn't tampered with, right? And to water down. And that's the same thing with us. Like, it's no amount of, my thing is, I don't think about the money. I know that the money's going to be there, but this isn't for the money. And the thing is, when you take care of the people are going to take care of you. And that's just how life works, even throughout history. You pay attention to all your history and stuff like that. That's how life works. And that's the same thing will never fade away. I can teach, through the brand, teach someone else about history facts. They can go back and research. And that's the whole point. Let's get you to go back and research. Wear something cool, yes, but go back and research so you can learn, what not to do in the future, and learn what to do in the future, and why things are the way that they are. And so, the money's going to come, but this is bigger than money.
Right. Encouraging education. I love it. Now, you chose the main, I would say, faces or cultures you chose to represent was the African in Latin, Hispanic, Mexican. Now, when you chose, I want to represent the Zulu and Aztec, was that just a merging of cultures due to your heritage, or were you really trying to better Black and brown relations?
Yeah. It wasn't for, because, like I said, my dad's from Guatemala, and the Mexicans, they're Mexican, and so it was mostly, like I said, to keep and solidify that rock, as in improving, yes, relationships, because if we're learning about one another, we can empower one another. And on next shirts, in which I'm looking at, that are gonna come next year, is Japanese, which is the samurai, and then the wife as well, and also the Trojan and Trojan wife, or the Spartan and Spartan wife, depending on how I do it.
Right.
And so
now you do include. I love that you include a bond, a unit, a marriage, but on your shirts.
Yes.
Why do you like to incorporate that?
The being is because even throughout time, coming upon our generation, it started to get, relationships and love started to get watered down.
Yeah.
And the thing is, throughout time, it has always been about love. And when you have that type of relationship value, where you can, create more of those people, and create generations of people, that's infectious. And so we want to be able to give that, back to the people, and saying, look, everyone had their spot, and this is how, your generation, your people was created. Go look into that. And the thing is about women, they're so powerful. And in our generation, in our time, and even before like time, people have been trying to substitute the power of women and try to subdue that.
Right.
And so we want kids to be able to say, look, like, even though they were considered to be wives, man, these wives were powerful. And I don't know if you ever heard, like, they say, oh, well, the man is the head, but you'll hear women say, but I'm the neck.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because women have so much power. And so when you create that balance between, that male and a female, the male and the female, and them coming together to produce these generations, right? This is where people are going to start to find out who they are as individuals. And one thing that I say is, anybody who comes, like, people are going to try to find themselves, right? And finding themselves isn't something miraculous. It's something that you create through everything that you have learned. And anybody who doesn't know who they are, and they're trying to be into your life, they're just going to come and waste your time, because they might make a deal with you, right? But then figure out something else about their life that they don't want, and then try to come back, later on, be like, no, I don't want to do that. But someone who knows who they are, right? And they understand who they are through their lineage and so forth and so on, and creating who they are, then they can come to you and really be solid. And that's the same thing here. Let's give people, information where they can start learning who they are, and want to go do more research about who they are and who other cultures are, so they can create who they are.
Now, with that being said, how much of your culture do you know? Now, I know obviously a lot, with your father's side and your mother's side, but I mean, beyond that, how far do you know?
Well, from my mom's side, from the African American side, it's kind of hard because of the whole enslavement and so forth and so on. And all the watered down stuff, and even in slavery, we all know that rape has happened, and in the watered down generation. So it's kind of hard to figure that part out. From my dad's side, is more he knows everything. Well, I don't want to say everything, but he knows a lot. He knows a lot, and so. From where my dad is from, you have your Latino people in Guatemala, but you have your Afro-Latino people.
Okay.
And so from where my dad is from in Livingston, they're Garifunas. And in the Garifuna culture, what happened was those group of people were supposed to be enslaved. But there was a ship, it was a ship or so that ended up crashing, that they ended up landing in the city of Guatemala, Belize, Livingston, and so forth. And in those places, there were natives there. And so the Afros mixed with the Native American, which created the Garifuna people. So yeah, they speak Spanish and so forth. So even if you go on Google and you go over there, there's a little place where you have even in Belize. I don't know you heard about Belize and stuff. And stuff. You have your Garifuna people, your Afro Latino people. They speak Spanish and they also speak Garifuna as their first language. So and then they speak English out here and so forth and so on. So yeah.
That's dope. Well, not dope, and this is obviously. Yeah. I mean, the reason they were even over here was for a horrible, awful reason. Yeah. But in regards to knowing that, because like you said, being African American, you could want to know, but at some point, you're kind of going to become stagnant. Yeah. On my side, on my mother's side, we got back to I think the 18th century, but after that it kind of got waned because of everything that had happened during the transatlantic slave trade. But the fact that you want to inspire people to at least want to know more and study more about their heritage, maybe if they can't find their direct lineage, maybe just learning about the culture in general is good, especially in the midst of Black Panther. And I saw that movie and I was in awe. I am not a crier, y'all. I don't cry at movies or even songs, but for some reason that movie was so beautifully designed. And I think a lot of people are going to want to learn their history.
And it gave people hope. I seen it twice. I wanted to go see it again. So I can't wait till it comes out on DVD because everybody's gonna pick that up. But and there's certain moments like that moment where I know that Never Fade Away is gonna work. And it's those moments where you see people coming out to go see things like Black Panther because they feel like for the first time like it's no watered down. It's a representation of what we are. What we really are, is not, someone in the movie in the movies, doing drugs and doing all this chaos and stuff. But we talking about kings, queens, dynasty, feeling, impactful. So, the power that Black Panther has had is, I want to make sure that, even though I started this 5 years ago, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So yeah.
And I think it's even more powerful the fact that, being Afro-Latino, I feel that's a great thing to have for that culture as well, because as Black people all over the world and we all have struggles in different places that we are at, but the fact that you're Afro-Latino yourself and you're doing this, embracing your African heritage, I don't really see that often happening amongst certain communities. But despite everything else, I do like the fact that you want to encourage people to educate themselves, on whatever it may be pertaining to that. Now, how will Never Fade Away be beneficial specifically?
We're going to have people wanting to learn about one another. And then learning about one another, they're going to start to change their mindset.
Okay.
And when they start to change their mindset, that's how life is going to be better. And also, with Never Fade Away, we're going to be sponsoring our athletes, right? And our celebrities, right? But we're also going to be sponsoring that small business and that big business who are doing positive things in the community, or the activists who are doing positive things in the community. Because one thing that I know is that when it comes down to a message, if someone else can receive the message, they can actually do something with that message, right? So if we can sponsor that small business, and then another small business or a big business looks at that small business and say, look, we're in the same mission. We're doing the same thing. I didn't know you existed, right? Let's come together. Let's create something else. Now, what happens is that you start creating more jobs. What happens is you start increasing the economy, and solving our, economical, issues. And so all around it's going to be helping, not only mentally, but also physically, emotionally. And so it's not a one trip thing where we're just going to be impacting one, aspect of life, but everything is going to be affected.
And that's cool, because sometimes arguments and judgment stems from just simply not knowing. I've been in situations before, maybe I didn't like a person or I was uninterested in a person because I didn't know them. And so I think that whenever people wear certain things, that can be an initiator into a conversation, simply because it's like, oh, that's cool, or just out of curiosity, like why you got that on,
exactly.
you know? And it's a whole message behind it, which I think is good. And I remember when you presented, I think it was for our project, your brand, and I was like, I really want a T-shirt. And I knew it was an African tribe. I didn't know which tribe it was, so I was like, it's the fact that he even was displaying African tribes. You don't see that too much unless you go into like an African store and things like that. And I was like, that's really dope. Now, what was I know you said you wanted people to get involved with their roots and learning about their history and getting people to connect based on common things within each history. But when you were back in a senior in high school, what was that inspiration that sparked you to say, I'm going to do this?
I always like history.
Okay.
I always like history. I always like to learn about history. And like I said, my dad, he was very prominent in, in his own history. So we always learned about it. But then at the same time, what there's this game called Assassin's Creed, and in Assassin's Creed, you go around and you start looking at different, and they would display information. And I was in history class, and the teacher ended up saying something. I was like, yeah, I remember that from Assassin's Creed. And then I started to think to myself, I'm like,
who said video games wasn't educational?
Exactly. I started to think to myself, I'm like, well, why, is it possible to start getting people to start to learn subconsciously about, facts about, themselves and other people? And how can this really help, change this, change the world? And so that's when I started coming up with the idea and putting the idea together, because I wanted people to learn subconsciously about, who they are. And so, that's when all the other aspects of Never Fade Away started to come together. But I was literally in high school in Miss Lada's class, and a lot of people who I know is gonna know Miss Lada. And while she was teaching her lessons, I was in my notebook trying to come up with the business idea. Sorry, Miss Lada, if you hear this. And so I was in class, not trying to concentrate, because I always knew from when I was young I was gonna have a business. Like I always knew, but up to what was it? I didn't know for sure. But this was it.
So you believe in subliminal messaging?
Yes. I believe in subliminal. Now I don't want them. They're gonna be like Illuminati or whatever. But
it's a real thing, y'all. Yeah. We all have been victims of it or perpetrators of it. But yeah. But
I believe sometimes you don't have to be so direct with people for them to learn. Sometimes you have to be gentle, because there's not, how many people like to learn about history, like real talk. Like if it's not about them, they're not trying to learn anything, about their stuff. So if we can just start getting people to slowly hint to them, like, look at this, look at that, then we can really start affecting change. And that's one thing that, that I have learned throughout life, is that it's not always about, giving it, targeting them and, pressing, learn this, but giving it to them in a way where they can digest it, and that was important.
Yeah. And it's very interesting you say that, because I do agree with you. Sometimes things are kind of subconsciously done. Maybe a repetition of the same image, of the same brand. You become like very familiarized to the point where it becomes just natural, about it. There's been times where I have seen things out in the world and I just know kind of facts about it. Never seen it, never really ran into it, but for some reason, maybe I seen it on a documentary, maybe I watched it on TV, I have some type of knowledge on that. So I do believe it can work with, but it has to be done the right way, which I see that you're doing it the right way. It has to be the right image at the right time, at the right marketing. And that can become very difficult. But how do you utilize social media? Because that's the biggest way things are subliminally done now.
What I started to do, obviously the Instagram page is i.will.nfa. And so I started that, and then the Facebook business page, and I think we took a class together about all that. So I started putting all those things together, and eventually I'm gonna have someone over that. But that's how I've been, trying to do so. And eventually we're gonna be reaching out to our celebrities through Instagram, because the DMs, You gotta contact them through the DM. So
sometimes they read them.
yeah.
Sometimes.
So I'm gonna have a list of my celebrities who I'm gonna, be contacting and do that until someone responds. Cause we only need one person to really just, post it. And once they post, but I want to make sure that our website is, solid. I want to make sure everything, our media page. Well, our media page is gonna grow and so forth and so on. But just making sure that the website's solid. Cause when demand comes and then when people want to start buying, we have to make sure that we're ready on our end. Because once again, we're not using investors and so forth and so on to have this big old thing. So it's gonna be patient, but it's gonna grow. And when it grows, it's gonna be something like no one has ever seen before.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, I know you invest a lot of your own money into that. However, how do you decide what to gain money from next? Because that's amazing that you have the funds to spare and the fact that you use a lot of your own money. But would you be interested in other money-making opportunities aside from investors, maybe, fundraisers, things like that?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. And, with Never Fade Away, we're going to have our nonprofit organization called Never Fade Away Presents Live Forever. And one thing is that every product that is sold through Never Fade Away, $5 of that product is going to go to, or $5 from the sales of that product is going to go to Live Forever. And Live Forever is going to donate to different charities. So, yeah, that's donations and stuff. If you want to donate to our cause, because that is what you believe in also, you will be allowed to do so. But when it comes down to investors, there's businessmen who just think about money, and that's what they, that's what they want to do. And, I'm not putting down anybody for what, what they do, but, what we're doing here is different. My mindset isn't all money, but it's about the people, and through the people, we're going to make money because, we all need to eat and we all need to, make a living and continue this cause and push it forward. So, when we're in other countries and, Never Fade Away, it's in Brazil or wherever the Olympics is or whatever, it's going to be, we're going to have money to be able to do those type of things. So, yeah.
And I feel that even though you're about obviously making a profit, I feel like it's more philanthropy based.
Yeah.
I feel if some people want to make it for a capitalistic reason,
which
is fine. I feel like if you want to become a millionaire, become a millionaire. But I feel like in addition to making a lot of money, you also want to give back to a lot of communities. Yeah,
and that's the thing. Will Smith said something like your life is meaningless if you don't help, someone out. And that's the thing. For me, I want to help people. And the thing is with a nonprofit is it's hard. You have to wait for the government to approve you to give you money and so forth and so on. With us, we're gonna have a for-profit business and Never Fade Away, but we're gonna always be giving back to the people. And I want everyone who's watching this and who will watch this to know that we're never gonna stray away from that. It's the people first. The people is always going to be first, and I'm never going to stray away from that. Remember it here.
He said it
here. I'm never going to stray away from that. So, yeah.
And that's what I think people need is an unwavering, dedicated, faithful company that is main agenda is to serve them. Not like, serve like we're masters, but in essence that we're the top priority, you know?
Yes.
So what does it mean if someone says to you, I want to be a part of Never Fade Away? What does that mean?
Well, one is everyone who's a part of Never Fade Away is because they believe in what Never Fade Away is about.
Okay.
And anyone who wants to be a part of Never Fade Away has to believe and has to be passionate about what we're doing, because all the work that we are doing, when it comes down to passion, people can feel passion from a mile away through a screen, through anything that they do. Even when it comes down to the person who's printing out the shirts or who's creating the flyers or who is filming, this, we want people to feel passion, because when we put it out to the world, you want them to know that, we took our time to do this, and I want them to feel what we feel so they can feel what Never Fade Away is about. So when someone comes and says, I want to be a part of Never Fade Away, right, it has to be a group of questions to, come, that comes with that, and eventually, we're going to have people who are going to know Never Fade Away off top. I won't have to go to them and explain to them what it is before. And then we can just ask them, so what is Never Fade Away? You want to be a part of Never Fade Away? What is Never Fade Away? Who is Never Fade Away? And, those type of questions, because we just don't want anybody to just, and once again, it's not for the money. Because if it was for the money, then we would be okay with anybody. You can be the best at what you do or whatever. Right. Not. But if you say you're the best at what you do, but you don't have the passion and the cause for it, and you're just thinking about money or whatever you're thinking about, or you're like your selfishness, then you can't. You can't be a part of Never Fade Away, and that's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We want to help people, and we want people to know that we're trying to help them, and that's how we're gonna be moving. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And it's cool you take stock in who you hire or work with, because oftentimes, like you said, people want to build their brand. They want worker bees, which is completely fine, and I understand that entirely. Mm-hmm. Luckily, the people I work with are amazing. Shout out Carol. She's shooting today. However,
hi, Carol.
I do respect the fact that you want people who are genuinely vested and those who are really in tune with self, you know, in their self. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you choose? I know you said that if someone wants to become a part of your team, they have to kind of have the same mindset and answer maybe a few questions. But beyond that, how do you personally choose who is going to represent Never Fade Away?
Well, how I have been doing it is I look to see if I study that person before they even know that I come to them. So I'm very low, like when it comes down to Never Fade Away, if you don't ask me what I'm doing with my life, I'm not going to just be boom, 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 doing Never Fade Away. You get what I'm saying? 'Cause there's some people who do that. But me, I'm watching to see, like, I know that there's something in Never Fade Away that needs to get done, right? And like I said, I've been doing it for 5 years, so I'm very patient with how, how this moves. And so I look and I see, okay, I need this. Who is able to do it? Who is this person? How do they react to people? Right? How do they control themselves and so forth and so on? Do they take their work seriously? So when I came to you, Angelica, I was like, I already knew. I was like, I want her to do it because, you're great at what you do.
Thank you.
And when I explained it, you understood the concept of what you're trying to do and you believed in the same thing. So, anybody who, I have approached and, to, come join Never Fade Away. One, I want the people to understand all the people who are in Never Fade Away, I'm not paying them. That's one. I'm not paying them, anything. It's because they believe, so they give their free time in what we're doing, and we trust, in what we're doing, and we trust one another to get, our stuff done, so we can be able to be for the people and succeed, in life. And so, that's one thing. Anybody who comes into Never Fade Away, they gotta understand that. Like, I will never. I will never treat someone unequally like everybody else. Everybody else is always treated the same. Everybody else is here the same way. And so that's the beautiful thing. And when people hear this, I want them to know, like, that's the beautiful thing about people. Like, you want to get people who believe in what you believe in, because when people are passionate about something, they're willing to give, they're willing to give freely to that. And that those blessings and stuff is going to come back.
And I have the same ideology. Whoever I work with, everyone that I've worked with who has shot for me, who has edited for me, is because they believed in me. And I greatly appreciate it. The most I can do is pay them in food, So whenever I invite people on the show, same thing. I'm not paying them to be here. I'm not flying them out. But the fact that they take time out of their day to come and do my show, I really, really appreciate it. So that's why I give people this platform, because, people have great ideas, and they need to just have a place where they can illustrate it, Now, how does Never Fade Away collaborate?
What do you mean by that? Can you be more specific?
Yeah, so basically you have your team. How does collaboration work in that degree? And then I'm sure when you are interacting with maybe other businesses, other potential clients, how does that collaboration work as well?
Well, the collaboration with our team is everyone has their responsibility, and everyone has their designated task that they do. And I tell everyone, you have to trust, and you are responsible to make sure that you do what you say that you can do, right? And because we're not, just like I'm responsible for the whole team, right? The team members are responsible for getting their part done too, because now we're affecting everyone. Everyone is relying on you to do your thing so we can all proceed. And so that's how that works. And when it comes down to people who we work with outside, how we do that is we let them know what Never Fade Away is. And once again, it's the same process, right? Because if you're gonna work with Never Fade Away, you gotta believe in what we're talking about. We're not just here for the money. We're not just gonna accept anything. So we talk to them, and then we see where they stand, and if they stand on positivity and where we're at, then we work with them.
Yeah.
And if not, then we won't do anything with them, and that's okay.
So morals drive you more than money.
Yes.
Okay.
And one thing I say, as human beings, we only have our word. At the end of the day, our bodies, some people can take that up, but our words, even education, like people say, oh, well, education can never be taken away from you. Well, people, who give you diplomas and all stuff, like, yeah, they can take that away from you throughout whatever process or sneakiness that they want to, but your word, that's something that no one can take away from you, and so that's us. Our word is everything. Our morals and what we stand on is everything.
Now, when it comes to your designs, because you said even though you draw inspiration from historical figures and cultures, you still have your own sketches and things you do.
Yeah.
Now, have you trademarked, the entire Never Fade Away brand?
Yeah. The reason why it took this long to get to this place is because of the whole legality stuff. That's that's the most tenacious part of of the whole process, is the whole legality stuff. So once the legality stuff was done, then we started creating all the other stuff and getting that solidified. Because at the same time, if I'm bringing people into the brand, I want people to feel like, it's secure. I want the people to know that it's secure too, that no one can just come and do whatever they want, with Never Fade Away as well. So, so all the legality stuff is, together. Now we're just working on all the physical stuff that people are able to see, which are the shirts, which is the media page, and so forth and so on.
And that's cool, because that you realized that was going to be a necessity, because so many times businesses and nonprofit organizations get these really cool ideas and they have everything centered around it, but then it's all taken away because a little thing called copyright and trademark. They didn't do that. And people are just horrible. They'll steal it. Copyright it, and then boom, you can't use it, give me all your profit. So it's it's horrible when that happens, but that's the legality of it all. Now, how do you market Never Fade Away?
I market Never Fade Away by how we're gonna start marketing Never Fade Away is we're gonna have our stores and stuff when that call comes, but I'm always gonna want people to be outside in the street selling, where people can see them. Selling on the street, exactly, straight to the people, and always being advocates, in person. And also we have these stickers, these Never Fade Away stickers that how we have them done so far is we place them on our cars, right? And if you don't have a car, wherever you want to place them, and basically when you're driving around and what have you not, like people, we want people to know that that's a Never Fade Away symbol. But when you put the Never Fade Away symbol, it's meaning that you're standing for what Never Fade Away means, right? And so those are the few techniques, and also the Instagram page like we talked about earlier, and try to reach out to certain people to let them know. And that's a beautiful thing about social media, is that you can contact people who you never thought you could contact before. So the world is open to us now. It's just about putting in the work. And so when we start to target the people around the world, it's about our morals once again, and how we come off to them, because our first approach is everything. And if we can start getting people to advocate for us, then that's going to be beautiful as well.
It's good to utilize everything to market, especially you're in a better position with social media. That can be the bulk of the marketing. However, it's good that you outlined a plan for that. Now, when it comes to long-term goals, where do you see the long-term goals for Never Fade Away? What are those?
I was talking to my sister about this, because she was asking me, where I see myself in 10 years and where I see myself in 5 years and so forth. But speaking in long term, in 10 years, I want to make sure that we have, I say a skyscraper, even though, I'm afraid of heights, but,
right.
But, we have a set location for our buildings to be, because one thing, the employees who are going to be a part of Never Fade Away, I want them to have a child care at the spot. I want them to have medical at the spot, all these things. So I want to be able to build a surrounding area where all that can be taken care of. And so I see ourselves there. I see ourselves, now being in other countries, and start promoting their history and so forth and so on. Like, I see us actually being, that number one brand where you see it everywhere, and it's crazy. Like, you'll be driving and you'll see Never Fade Away stickers like everywhere. Kind of like how Uber has it in a way, but more impactful and so forth. So I see I see the people actually embracing us, in full. Where you'll see the kids, the older generation and so forth, wearing Never Fade Away and stuff, and Instagram hashtags and all types of stuff.
Right.
Which I guess I say, well, I see Instagram in a few years, right, long term. But yeah, like I see us being around everywhere. I mean, we have everything set up where people can hopefully feel secure in us, and yeah.
Now, one second.
Mm-hmm.
I had to adjust the monitors really fast. Okay. We live, baby. No, I just had to adjust the monitors to make sure everything was still a go. However, when it comes to that and the brand, how will you get, because there's some people who have that thirst. They want to know about history. They want to know about themselves. They want to know about their lineage and heritage, which would be great to emphasize. I wish I would have had you in here during Black History Month.
Okay.
However, how can you inspire maybe someone who is content with the culture they've grown up in? They might see themselves as European or American or Latin, depending, because that's where they grew up. They might not want to expand beyond where they grew up. How do you inspire those people to want to know about that?
When they start seeing other people like them, as in other people who they are around want to know, then they're going to be encouraged to want to know themselves. You get me? So it always starts with just one person at a time. And as it starts spreading one person at a time, then other people are going to want to know, about themselves, about what they do. And then other people are going to tell them about themselves. You get what I'm saying? So it's not going to be something that's going to be, solitary to just one person, but it's going to spread like wildfire. Like, it's going to be hard for you not to hear about yourself and hear about, what Never Fade Away is and so forth. And that's where I see our direction going. And when it comes down to those people and how they're going to start looking at us and how they're going to hear about us and how they're going to hear about themselves. So, yeah.
So you want everyone, because, I mean, you do have a good hunch about that, because naturally people compare themselves to other people.
Yeah.
People want to be like what the masses are doing,
Yes.
or what's cool, what's trendy, what's popular. So is the goal kind of to get the brand a trend, like Black excellence is hopefully is not a trend, but that's what people are really leaning to, especially with Black Panther. People are now really at a time where they really want to know now about their history. Yeah. They really want to know about their culture, and they are investing pride in it. So would you say you want to kind of make it a trend?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say a trend, just for a simple fact that trends fade away.
Go, yeah.
And but I want to make it a legacy. If that makes sense. Yes. I want to make it a something where people incorporate in their life. You know what I mean? Their lifestyles now in their life. Like we see things like, we see certain things in our life where we can just automatically be like, that's a part of us, like Instagram, or that's a part of us, like the way we look at it now. But I want Never Fade Away to be bigger than that. I want people to feel like, they're now being reminded that they're working hard to never fade away, to never be forgotten, to always have a legacy, to always keep their name in the books and so forth and so on, always keep their name out there. And so yeah. But of course, throughout Never Fade Away history and what's gonna come, you're gonna have your certain trends. Certain shirts that come out, you're gonna have certain trends, right? Certain hashtags and so forth and so on, where people are gonna be able to adopt. And even when it comes down to the other stuff, it never fade away. Like, the music label and and all the other stuff is always gonna be something that's gonna be trending about Never Fade Away, but Never Fade Away itself. I don't want it to be a trend. It's gonna be a legacy. It's gonna be something where people can really build upon. And so, and hopefully tell their kids to never fade away. You know?
I'm with it. It's just, when you have such big ideas like these, sometimes they can get caught up in being a trend. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's a phase or whatever. Although there's nothing being a phase about it because it's historical. But in terms of the popularity of it all, people go through times where they really are interested and then it just kind of,
and I think, how
subsides.
And I think how we're going to stop that. I feel like how that becomes is when people don't have the right perspective and they don't appeal to people with the right perspective. But as soon as people know that, we're about them, they're gonna always embrace us. Like that's gonna be solid. So I'm not worried about that ever happening. It's I should be worried about that happening when we start to move away from those morals. But like you said, as long as you're for the people, like people are always gonna embrace you.
I respect it 100%, and I wish you much success in the future. And with that being said, I just have to ask you this one last thing before we get up out of here. Now, every Friday, I have my Friday fails and Friday acts of fabulousness with a snap. That snap wasn't popping enough. I had to redo it. However, for you, what have you considered a fail?
I don't see fails as being fails.
Okay.
They're always learning experiences. Okay. To improve, to make better, to make a better tomorrow. So, when you fail at something or in your mind you feel like you didn't reach the success that you wanted to, you just improve the next day. Like, it's always another day tomorrow to start all over. And
Now, what was your act of fabulousness? I guess you can consider that a fabulousness, but I feel like what maybe was a great success for you?
Coming up with Never Fade Away, honestly. Honestly, I mean, outside of my girlfriend, obviously, but
and she's a sweetie pie.
But Never Fade Away, because I know that this, like I said, and I'm gonna, I always gonna reiterate this no matter where, but it's because it's for the people, and I have, have put together something where we can actually change lives, and I think that's gonna have to be my answer for my biggest success personally. And, it's nothing personal to me that I have done except that. So, yeah.
That is all wonderful. And it's good that you're so passionate about something so major, and it's going to be big. Yeah. It's going to be huge, as Donald Trump would say. Now, well, thank you so much, Joshua, for coming. And I'm glad you were here and delved into all of this. I was expecting you to be very forthcoming about what's going on within the brand, but all of the other stuff I wasn't really expecting. So it was a happy surprise. Now, before we get out of here, how can people find you?
You can find me at me personally, my Instagram page is Pharrell, which is PH3R0AH. And the YouTube page is the YouTube page is at Never Fade Away. So we're gonna post that video, and the Instagram page for the company is at I.will WILL .NFA, which is the letter NFA for Never Fade Away. So that's where you can find us, look at our stuff, and so forth.
Yes, definitely check out all of their stuff. You can find me as well on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube and Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Angelica Diva. You can also find me at Angelica Cheyenne, the Chocolate Diva, on Facebook. On Instagram, it's simply the Chocolate Diva. Snapchat is the Cocoa Diva. That's Cocoa with the H. And I believe that's all of the platforms I'm on as I think of this moment.
And this Never Fade Away channel.
Right, most definitely. The Never Fade Away YouTube channel, I'll be on that as well as I'll be posting this to my own personal YouTube page. That's what I was going to say again. Our YouTube page is Angelica Cheyenne, the Chocolate Diva, and you can find all these pages. I will link this in the description box on this YouTube video, because thanks to my brilliant videographer Carol, who came in today, I will be posting the visual of the radio show. I'll be posting the visual of the radio show to YouTube. So I am going to have you present the Flashback Friday song of the day for Flashback Friday and kind of give the people a reason why you chose it.
The flashback song for Friday is Pursuit of Happiness by Kid Cudi. The reason why I chose this song is because this helped me many days to try to, figure things out and always continue to push. And yeah.
Well, you heard it. It's Kid Cudi, Pursuit of Happiness. This is one of my favorite songs. I'm so hyped for it. I can't even speak because I used to love Kid Cudi in high school. So you heard it here, the Pursuit of Happiness. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I will see you guys next week.
Bye,
Happy Friday.